I need to write this down. Maybe if I put the words on paper, they'll hold me together for a little longer. Maybe when someone finds this, they'll see I wasn't crazy, that I didn't imagine what happened inside Whispering Pines Motel. My name is Michael Brennan. Just a man who lost his job, a man who keeps a cat named Pixel, a man who thought taking a night shift at a rundown motel would be nothing more than survival. But the truth is, this place isn't a motel. It's a trap. When I first walked into that office, I thought the rules were a joke, a bad prank by whoever owned this dump. Turn off the neon sign at exactly 11:15. Lock yourself in the supply closet before the knocking starts. Don't answer the phone after midnight. I remember laughing, nervous laughter, the kind you choke on when your gut already knows the joke isn't funny. The list wasn't for a job, it was for a test. And the longer I've stayed here, the more I realize I'm not working night shift security. I'm participating in something I never agreed to. The walls here breathe, the mirrors sweat. My own reflection doesn't wait for me. It moves first. And sometimes, when I blink, I see another version of myself standing just a step behind, mouth moving, but no sound coming out. The first time it whispered, I almost convinced myself it was the wind. But it wasn't. It was me, or what's left of me. And the words were always the same. You're remembering. At first, I didn't understand. Remembering what? I don't have anything to hide. I'm nobody. But then the slips started, the little gaps. I woke up not knowing what street I grew up on. I forgot the date of my own birthday. I looked at Pixel one night, and for 3 unbearable seconds, I didn't recognize her. I didn't know her name. My only anchor in this world, gone from my mind like someone erased her with a stroke of chalk. That's when the phone rang. I picked it up with shaking hands, and the sound that came through nearly stopped my heart. Not one voice. Dozens. Layered together, cold and clinical, reciting words like a report. Subject MB resists memory suppression. Mr. Michael Brennan. That was me. My name spoken like a code, like I wasn't a person at all, just data. I tried to hang up, but my hand wouldn't move. My body froze like it belonged to someone else. Pixel hissed then, loud, sharp, furious, her eyes locked on the wall, tracking something invisible crawling just beneath the wallpaper. And then the sigil appeared. 3 circles, interlocked, burned into the plaster without flame, without smoke. Just there. I stumbled back, staring, and realized I had seen it before. In my own notebook, in idle doodles I didn't remember drawing. On the glass of the bathroom mirror, traced in steam when I stepped out of the shower, and once in the frost of the ice machine, etched like a signature waiting for me to notice. It wasn't random. None of it was random. This place isn't haunted. It's engineered. The rules aren't there to keep us safe. They're there to keep the experiment running. Every night I sit at that desk, every time I lock myself in that closet, every time I obey, I am reinforcing the conditions of the test. And I am the test subject. Subject MB. I wish I could say I imagined it. I wish I could say it was exhaustion, paranoia, a nervous breakdown. But the proof is written everywhere. The phone, the sigils, the whispers. And the worst part is, it's working. Whatever they're doing here, whatever they're taking from me, I feel it. The gaps in my head grow larger every night. The memories slip away like sand through my fingers. I'm terrified to sleep. Because when I wake, something else will be gone. Pixel is the only thing holding me together. When I hear her pause on the desk, when I feel her press against my chest, for a moment I remember who I am. She's my anchor, the last real thing I have. Or at least, that's what I told myself. But anchors don't burn. And tonight, under the soft glow of the desk lamp, I saw it, burned faintly into her fur, just above her ribs. The same sigil. 3 circles, interlocking, etched into her body like a brand. My chest went cold. My throat locked. Pixel just sat there, eyes fixed on me, calm, unblinking. And for the first time since I brought her home, I couldn't tell if she was my cat, or if she was part of them. I don't know what that means yet. I don't know if she's the thing keeping me safe or the thing keeping me here. But I know this much. She isn't just mine. She never was. And that's the truth I can't escape. The motel isn't the prison. Pixel is. I told myself it was nothing, just a second too late, maybe two. But in Whispering Pines, even seconds bleed like hours. Rule 1 said turn off the neon sign at exactly 11:15. Not before, not after. And that night I missed it. I don't even remember why. Maybe I froze. Maybe I wanted to test if the rules were real. But the sign didn't fade. It roared to life, buzzing so loud I felt it in my teeth, glowing red until the entire room was drowning in it. I thought it would burn me alive. The parking lot outside should have been empty. It was always empty. But through that violent red glow, I saw them. Cars, not one, not two, dozens. Parked in perfect rows, their engines silent, their headlights off, their windows dark. I leaned closer, pressing my forehead to the glass, whispering that it couldn't be real, that my eyes were tired, but the condensation of my breath betrayed me. Words formed across the fogged pane without my hand, sharp and deliberate. Remember. I tried to shut it out. I told myself if I killed the sign, maybe they'd vanish. I stumbled outside, the air thick and wet like breathing through cloth. The neon screamed above me, a heartbeat in glass. My fingers found the switch but froze, because I heard it. The first car door opening. Slow, heavy, echoing. I didn't look, not at first. But then came another, and another. Hinges groaning like they hadn't been touched in years. A chorus of metal, one door after another, until the night was nothing but that sound. I forced myself to turn. They were stepping out. Not people, not anymore. Bodies moved in jerks, heads turning too far, too stiff, like someone was pulling invisible strings. No faces, no mouths, no features at all, just shadows with glinting eyes that caught the neon light and sent it back at me. Row after row of them, standing in silence, all facing me, watching. Pixel screamed then, a sound so sharp and broken it felt like glass cutting my ears. That scream saved me. It snapped me loose. I slammed the switch down, and the sign fought me, buzzing harder, flickering, before finally choking to black. The lot went still. When I dared to look again, there was nothing. No cars, no figures, just the cracked pavement under the pale glow of the moon. I ran back inside, gasping. Pixel sat on the desk, her eyes wide, her fur still shivering with the sigil faintly glowing beneath it. I wanted to hold her, but when I reached out, my hands shook too much to touch. I just sat in the chair, staring at the dead phone, waiting. It didn't stay silent. The television hummed on by itself, static filling the screen. The hiss wasn't just noise. There was a voice buried under it, clipped, mechanical, like a recording on loop. Subject MB, attempted breach protocol, neon response successful, observe anchor reaction. Anchor. My eyes snapped to Pixel. She was locked onto the static, ears twitching, tail lashing side to side. I whispered her name, but she didn't look at me. The word repeated in my skull like a nail driven deeper with each strike. Anchor. 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 The static shifted. For one breath, the screen cleared, and I saw myself. Not here, not in this room, but strapped to a chair, wires trailing from my arms, a mask sealed over my mouth. My head jerked, my eyes rolled, and my mouth opened in a scream I couldn't hear. But through the static speakers came only one word: remember. Then the screen went black, and the phone rang. I answered because I couldn't stop myself, and what spilled through made my blood freeze, my own voice, flat, monotone. The anchor is stable. Subject resists integration. Proceed to next phase. I whispered into the receiver, my throat dry, my mind tearing apart. Who are you? The answer came, slow and heavy, my voice but twisted, dragged too deep, stretched until it was wrong. You are. I dropped the phone. The sound of that last word clung to me, crawling under my skin, wrapping tight around my ribs until I couldn't breathe. I stumbled back and slammed into the closet door. 3 knocks followed, deliberate, measured from the other side. I hadn't locked it. I hadn't followed Rule 7. The wood vibrated with the force of the next knock. Then came the whisper. Soft, so close it brushed my ear through the thin barrier. "Michael," Pixel hissed, her back arched, her eyes glowing like coals in the dark. My instincts screamed at me to run, but my body betrayed me again. My hand rose toward the doorknob as if pulled by invisible strings. The wood throbbed with something breathing behind it. I yanked my hand back, shoved the chair against the door, and pressed myself to the wall. My chest heaved, sweat dripping down my face. And that's when I saw it, etched into the floorboards beneath Pixel's paws, pulsing faintly like veins alive with light. The sigil. Always the sigil. Pixel turned her head toward me, slow, deliberate. For one terrible second, I swear she wasn't my cat. Something older looked at me through her eyes, something that knew me better than I knew myself. Her gaze wasn't frightened, it was patient, as if waiting for me to stop pretending I didn't understand. The neon outside flickered once, just once, and I realized the mistake wasn't missing the time. The mistake was ever taking this job. The motel isn't haunted. It's a machine. The rules aren't warnings. They're commands. And Pixel, she isn't here to keep me safe. She's here to keep me inside. And tonight, the knocking hasn't stopped. I thought the knocking would fade if I just ignored it. But it didn't. It slowed, turned into a steady rhythm, until it wasn't knocking anymore. It was breathing. A long inhale, a rattling exhale, right there behind the closet door. My entire body stiffened. I held my breath, but the air pressed back against me, heavy and damp, as if the closet itself had lungs. Pixel crouched low, tail flicking, but her eyes weren't afraid. They glowed, watching, measuring, and then silence. I don't remember sleep. I don't remember choosing to close my eyes. One moment I was against the wall, every muscle screaming to run. The next, I was somewhere else. The shift wasn't like waking up. It was like being ripped out of my body and dropped into another layer beneath reality. The air was sharp, metallic, reeking of antiseptic, and something burned. I gasped, and the taste of chemicals scraped my tongue. I wasn't in the motel anymore. The wallpaper was gone. The carpet, the stains, the buzzing neon, all gone. In their place, seamless steel walls humming faintly with energy. I was still in my chair, but the legs scraped against metal flooring. The sound echoed, too loud, too empty, like I was inside a machine bigger than I could comprehend. I turned. A corridor stretched endlessly in both directions. Sterile white light came from nowhere and everywhere at once. No shadows, no windows, no exit. Just rows of identical doors, each marked with numbers. My skin crawled. Because when I leaned closer, I realized the nearest number was 237. The same number I had been warned about. My feet moved without asking permission. Each step felt like pushing against water, heavy, slow, but unstoppable. My chest burned, my legs trembled, but I couldn't stop. My hand reached for the knob as if it already knew what waited. The door opened soundlessly. Inside was me. Not a reflection, not a trick of light. Another Michael Brennan strapped to a chair. Restraints clamped around his wrists, ankles, chest. His head lolled forward, sweat dripping off his face. Wires threaded into his arms, running to machines that pulsed with a dull red glow, like veins carrying light instead of blood. A mask covered his mouth. Each breath fogged against the glass, uneven, shallow, desperate. I whispered no, but the sound died in my throat. The other me jerked upright, like a current ripped through him. His back arched until it looked like his spine might snap. His eyes flew open, pupils blown into endless pits of black. He screamed against the mask, silent, yet the room itself shook with a word I felt in my skull rather than my ears. Remember. My knees buckled. I clung to the doorframe, teeth chattering though the air wasn't cold. And then I saw the walls. Monitors flickered to life, one after another, each screen showing me again. Not one, dozens. Michael curled in a fetal position on a concrete floor. Michael pacing a narrow room, clawing at his scalp. Michael strapped to another chair, blood trickling down his arms where the wires dug too deep. All of them me. All of them alive. All of them suffering. The machines pulsed, the air vibrated, and a voice poured from the walls, not human, layered, distorted, each syllable dragging like metal across stone. Subject MB, containment breach, imminent, anchor integrity required. Anchor, always anchor. The word burned through me like acid. My eyes darted to my feet, and there she was, Pixel, sitting calmly, tail wrapped around her paws, staring up at me with infinite patience. Her purr rumbled low, steady, and the hum of the machines shifted to match it, syncing with her rhythm. The strapped Michael convulsed again, mouth open in a scream I could feel tear through my own lungs. Pain split me open, white-hot, ripping across my skin as if the wires were buried in me, not him. My vision blurred, my stomach twisted. I dropped to my knees, clawing at my arms. The air reeked of ozone and blood. Pixel brushed against me, and just like that, the pain dulled. My breath steadied. The restraints loosened on the other me. His head slumped forward, sweat dripping, chest heaving, but alive. The monitors flickered again, static devouring most of the images until only one remained, the me standing in the doorway, watching. The voice returned, louder, resonating through bone. Integration delayed. Anchor stabilized. Proceed with phase escalation. The lights dimmed to a sickly red. The hum deepened into a pounding heartbeat that rattled the floor. And then, the bleed began. The motel forced its way back into existence, wallpaper peeling across steel, wood over metal, the scent of mildew, smothering chemicals. Two realities stacked on top of each other, grinding, glitching, one moment sterile lab, the next rotting motel. I stumbled back, vision tearing in two, the corridor stretching and snapping until I fell backward into the office. The chair was still against the closet, the neon outside still dead. But the taste of chemicals lingered in my mouth. My wrists throbbed like restraints had bruised them. And Pixel still sat at my feet, her fur glowing faintly with the sigil pulsing in time with my heartbeat. I whispered her name. She blinked slowly, deliberately, eyes reflecting not the room, but endless rows of monitors, wires, and masks. For one moment, I swore the motel wasn't around us at all. I was still in the lab, and she was the only thing keeping me tethered to either side. The closet rattled. Once. Hard. The chair jumped, skidding an inch across the floor. The breathing returned, loud, guttural, clawing at the walls. I pressed my back against the desk, chest heaving. And then it spoke. Not Michael this time. Not a command. A question. Whispered through the wood with a voice that wasn't one voice at all, but hundreds layered together, each one a version of me. Which one are you? I thought the question would fade, that maybe it was just another trick of the motel bleeding into my head. But it stayed. Which one are you? The voices hadn't been outside. They hadn't been behind the closet door. They'd been inside me. Hundreds of versions of me layered together, fighting for the right to speak. My own throat burned like something had clawed its way up and stopped short of escaping. Pixel sat there, calm as ever, her eyes following every twitch of my face. And for one horrible second, I thought she might answer for me. The air shifted then, heavy, electric. The walls rippled, the desk lamp buzzed, flared, then shattered, sparks hissing as the room went dark except for the faint glow of the sigil on Pixel's side. The glow pulsed, slow, steady, rhythmic, and with each pulse, the wall stretched, not peeled, not cracked, stretched like skin pulled too thin. I could see light bleeding through the seams, not motel light, not neon. The same sterile white glow from the corridor, the hum of machines rising beneath the wallpaper. I pressed my palms to my temples, trying to hold myself together, but the bleed pushed harder. The floor groaned, the closet door rattled, then it stopped. Silence. A silence so deep it rang in my ears. And then the phone rang. I knew I shouldn't answer. I knew the rules. But the sound dug into me, relentless, every shrill note vibrating in my skull. My hand lifted before I could stop it. The receiver felt colder than ice, and when I put it to my ear, the voice on the other end was mine again. But not the monotone this time. It was pleading. Broken. "Michael, you have to choose," I whispered back, barely able to speak. "Choose what?" The voice cracked like it was choking on its own words. "The anchor. Burn it or become it." My chest seized, my knees buckled. Pixel meowed softly, almost tender, like she knew exactly what I'd just heard. The glow along her fur brightened, spilling onto the floor, painting the boards with interlocking circles. "No," I muttered, shaking my head, backing into the desk. "No, not her. She's just a cat." The voice cut me off, louder now, fractured into layers, as if every version of me was speaking at once. "She was never yours. She is the tether, the reason you remember it all. Without her, you unravel." The room split open then. The walls tore down the middle like a curtain ripped away, and behind them wasn't plaster or beams but the lab again, steel, humming, endless. Rows of chairs lined the corridor, each one filled with another me, each restrained, each convulsing as the machines siphoned something unseen from their skulls. Their mouths opened in silent screams, but the word was always the same: remember. And in the middle of it all, on a raised platform of steel, stood Pixel. Not small, not fragile, larger, radiant. Her body shimmered with light, her shape flickering between feline and something else. Something tall, human-like, faceless, but always anchored by those same glowing eyes. She looked at me, and every machine in the corridor responded, pulsing in time with her. I dropped to my knees, my breath hitched, my vision spun. The receiver slipped from my hand and cracked against the floor, but the voice didn't stop. It poured from everywhere, from the walls, from the machines, from inside my own head. Anchor test initiated. Subject MB must decide, burn the tether or be absorbed. The lab bled into the motel again, one half wallpaper and mildew, the other half steel and wires. Pixel flickered between cat and something I couldn't comprehend. The air was too thick to breathe. My body trembled with static, every nerve screaming. I crawled toward her, tears stinging my eyes. "You're all I have left," I whispered. "Please don't make me choose." Pixel tilted her head. Her mouth didn't move, but her voice filled me all the same. Software ancient. "Michael, you already chose." The floor ignited, not with fire, not with light, but with memory. Images seared across the boards. Me as a child, holding Pixel in my arms, though I never owned a cat back then. Me in a hospital bed, doctors whispering about suppression dosage. Me signing a contract with trembling hands, a page stamped with the sigil in red. My stomach twisted. My throat tore open in a scream I couldn't hold back. None of it was real, or maybe all of it was. Pixel's glow consumed the room, drowning me in light, until only her silhouette remained. The voice returned one last time, layered, final, leaving no escape. "Choose subject M, B, anchor or subject, survival or dissolution. Which one are you?" The walls shook. The closet door exploded outward, splinters raining across the floor. A shape crawled out, faceless, jerking, limbs bent the wrong way, skin stretched too thin. It moved toward me, slow, deliberate, reaching with hands that looked almost like mine. Pixel hissed, her glow flaring brighter, pushing the figure back but not destroying it, waiting for me to decide. My hands burned as I reached for her, torn between holding on and letting go. And that's when I understood. The test wasn't about the motel. It wasn't about the rules. It was about me. Pixel wasn't the thing keeping me safe. She was the thing keeping me here. And if I didn't decide soon, I wouldn't be Michael Brennan anymore. I'd be just another hollow body strapped to a chair, screaming a word I couldn't forget. Remember. The words were still ringing in my head. "Which one are you?" When the closet door gave way and that twisted thing crawled out, limbs jerking in angles no bones should allow, skin stretched thin over a frame that bent forward like a marionette held by broken strings. For a moment I couldn't breathe because I realized it wasn't moving toward me. It was unfolding, stretching upward as if it was remembering how to stand. Pixel's glow flared bright, pushing against it, hissing like fire against oil, and the figure faltered but didn't vanish. Instead, it steadied, straightened, its spasms fading until I realized what I was looking at wasn't a faceless abomination anymore, but a man, tall, calm, deliberate. The blur hardened into detail, a black suit pressed neat, a tie centered with surgical precision, shoes polished until they shone even in the dim light. The face slid into focus last, as if painted in from memory, skin pale as paper, lips thin, eyes hidden behind round glasses that didn't reflect the room, only static, as if behind those lenses was nothing but signal and interference. He looked like someone I should have recognized, someone I had once trusted or feared, but the memory wouldn't come, as though it had been carved out of me with the same cruel precision that shaped this place. And yet my chest clenched when I saw him, because deep down I knew the truth. This wasn't the first time we had met. When he spoke, it was with the tone of a man reciting protocol, every word even and measured like he had delivered it 1,000 times before. Subject MB, anchor integrity confirmed, escalation. Phase 5, observer presence authorized. The sound didn't echo in the room so much as echo inside my bones, a frequency I could feel in my teeth. And though I wanted to shout, to demand answers, the only thing that scraped past my lips was a whisper. "Who are you?" He tilted his head, adjusting his tie in a gesture too human to be real, and replied with the kind of calm that stripped every word of choice. "I am what you chose to forget. I am what watches when you close your eyes. I am the reason. You are still breathing. You may call me the Observer." Pixel growled low, the sound vibrating through the floorboards, her glow burning hotter as if she recognized him too. The Observer turned toward her without surprise, nodding slightly as if acknowledging a colleague. "Efficient anchor," he said softly. "Remarkably stable, considering your resistance, but stability cannot last without compliance." My fists clenched though I was trembling, my throat tight with fury I didn't understand. "Compliance?" I forced the word out like it was poison. The Observer stepped closer, and with each step the walls flickered, wallpaper tearing away into sterile steel, the motel collapsing into the lab and back again. "You've been given rules," he said, "simple rules. Yet you test them. You resist. That resistance is valuable. Your defiance produces results, but only if you decide. Process requires choice. Data requires closure." I stumbled back until my shoulders hit the desk, the phone cold and dead at my side. "She's not part of this," I whispered, pointing to Pixel, my voice breaking. "She's my cat." His hand shot out with impossible speed, closing around my throat and lifting me off the floor like I weighed nothing. His grip wasn't crushing, but freezing. A paralysis that locked every nerve. His glasses reflected me back at myself, a tiny, shaking figure caught in his grip. "She is not yours," he said evenly. "She was never yours. She is ours, the tether that binds you to memory, the chain that keeps you from unraveling into static. Without her, you dissolve. With her, you endure. But anchors burn, Mr. Brennan, and when they burn out, you burn with them." He released me and I collapsed to the floor, clutching my throat, gasping for breath. Pixel darted between us, her body arching, her glow sharp as a blade. The Observer crouched as if to examine her more closely, voice soft, almost admiring. "Not yet," he murmured, "but soon." Rage welled up in me, raw and useless. I forced myself upright, legs trembling, fists trembling harder. "Why me?" I spat. "Why Pixel? What the hell do you want from us?" His head tilted again, glasses flashing static. "Want?" His lips curved into the faintest trace of something like amusement. "This is not desire. This is process. You are not chosen, Mr. Brennan. You are designated, a subject of record, a fragment under examination. We observe, we collect, and when the data completes, we archive." The word hit me harder than his grip had. Archive, not free, not released, stored, frozen, forgotten. Behind him, the walls collapsed again, Motel peeling away into corridor steel. Machines hummed alive, monitors flickered on, and I saw them again. Rows of me, strapped to chairs, wires burrowed deep, eyes wide and screaming. Each version of me convulsed in rhythm with the machines, their mouths moving in unison, their faces twisted into the same endless word: remember. The sound wasn't just in the air. It was inside my chest, inside my skull, vibrating my teeth until I thought they'd crack. I fell to my knees, clutching my head, tears burning my eyes. Pixel pressed herself against me, her warmth pulling me back, her glow syncing with my heartbeat, holding me together when everything else was tearing apart. The observer stood above it all, hands folded behind his back, watching without urgency, without pity, without hate. He extended one hand toward me, calm and final. "Choose," he said. "Anchor or subject, survival or surrender." I shook my head violently, sobbing. "I can't." His voice sliced over mine, unwavering. "You will, or you will cease to exist." Pixel's glow flickered then, and for the first time, I saw her form blur at the edges, her body wavering as if she couldn't hold me much longer. The monitors flared brighter, my doubles screamed louder, the machines thundered like a heartbeat that belonged to something larger than either of us. On the nearest screen, one Michael turned, his black eyes locking on me. His lips moved in perfect sync with mine, and his voice split the air. "Burn her, or burn with her." The observer leaned down close enough for me to see my reflection trembling in his glasses. "Almost choice, Mr. Brennan," he said softly. "Do not make me wait." The corridor shuddered, steel and wallpaper grinding together, motel and lab overlapping like two lungs fighting for the same breath. Pixel pressed into me, her glow burning brighter, her eyes fixed not on him but on me, waiting, patient, inevitable. The observer's hand hung in the air, steady, final. And I realized the truth I'd been avoiding since the first rule on that damn list. This wasn't about the motel or the sign or the closet. It was about me. And if I didn't choose soon, I wouldn't be Michael Brennan anymore. I'd just be another file. Another voice in the static, another memory archived. The observer's hand stayed suspended in the air, calm, steady, patient, as if time itself bowed to his command. Around us, the motel and the lab tore into each other, the walls shifting like flesh peeled back to reveal steel ribs beneath, the floorboards warping into metal panels only to snap back again with a groan. Each shift sent a stab of nausea through me, like reality itself was rejecting my presence. I clung to Pixel, her body trembling with light, her purr vibrating against my chest, not as comfort but as current, sinking me to a frequency that wasn't mine. She was keeping me alive, keeping me inside, and I finally understood those two things weren't different. The monitors lining the walls flared brighter, each one filled with another version of me. Some screamed until their throats tore open, others sat catatonic, eyes empty, mouths mumbling the word "remember" over and over like prayer. A few looked directly at me, lips curling in a mockery of my own expression, their words layered into my skull. "You are not one. You are many. You are archived." My teeth ached with the force of it, my chest rattled like it might cave in. I pressed my forehead to Pixel's fur, whispering her name as if that alone could keep me tethered. But she only blinked slowly, her eyes glowing with something too vast, too old, too alien to be my cat. The observer's voice cut through the static, precise as ever, every syllable striking like a hammer. "You prolong what cannot be delayed. Anchor or subject, burn or become. The interval ends now." He gestured toward Pixel with his outstretched hand, not in malice but in inevitability, the same way a surgeon reaches for a scalpel. My stomach turned, bile rising, and I screamed, "She's not yours!" The observer's glasses reflected me back, tiny, desperate, broken, and he said with calm so absolute it strangled hope, "She was never yours. She was assigned." The floor cracked open with that word. Light spilled through, not white, not red, but something between, a color I couldn't name, a light that carried memory instead of heat, In it, I saw flashes, me signing papers with trembling hands, me sitting in a white room while men in suits whispered behind glass, me watching Pixel being carried toward me in a cage long before I ever thought I adopted her. The truth unspooled fast and brutal. None of it was coincidence, not the motel, not the rules, not Pixel. Every piece of my life had been calibration. Every memory I thought was mine had been manufactured to lead me here. I staggered back, clutching my head, screaming for it to stop. But the light only widened, swallowing the floor, the walls, the ceiling, until there was nowhere left to hide. Pixel stepped into the glow, her body stretching, flickering, her fur burning with the sigil, until her shape blurred into something human-like, faceless, radiant. She looked down at me, and though her mouth didn't move, I heard her voice clear and soft inside my skull. Michael, you cannot choose not to choose. You already belong. I collapsed to my knees, sobbing, shaking, clawing at the floor that no longer existed. The observer loomed above, his silhouette sharp against the radiance, his hand still outstretched, eternal, final. Almost choice ends, he said. Now. His voice cracked the air like glass breaking, and the monitors shattered one by one, shards flying outward before dissolving into static mid-air. The doubles on the screens didn't disappear. They spilled into the room, crawling, dragging themselves toward me, each one bearing my face, each one whispering in unison. Join us. Pixel's glow flared once more, brighter than the rest, holding them back, but I could feel her weakening. Her body trembled, her form fraying at the edges like a dying signal. She wasn't infinite, she was a fuse burning down, and I was chained to her flame. If she went out, I would go with her. The observer knew it. He smiled faintly, the only emotion I had seen cross his face. Anchor termination is survival termination. Anchor survival is subject dissolution. You have no third path. My lungs burned. My vision swam. The doubles pressed closer, their whispers sharpening into screams, hands reaching, eyes wide and hollow. I clutched Pixel tighter, but the weight of her against me felt wrong, heavier than any cat, heavier than an animal should be. She wasn't my anchor. I was hers. She wasn't keeping me alive. She was feeding on me, holding me in place until the process was done. I saw it in her eyes, and she let me see it. The observer's hand lowered toward my shoulder, final, decisive. The doubles surged forward, static roaring in my ears. Pixel looked at me one last time, her glow blazing, and in that instant, I felt the whole motel shudder like a body taking its final breath. And then, the light swallowed everything. When my vision cleared, I wasn't in the office anymore. I wasn't in the lab either. I was standing in a field of mirrors, endless in every direction, each one reflecting not just my face, but thousands, millions of versions of me, all watching, all whispering, their mouths forming the same word I could no longer deny. Remember.